Hey guys, Naz here with another video. In this video, I'll be going over my chain order tier list. I'll be rating every hero from the left to right as they appear in the class section of the menu, and I'll be warning you about post-game, so don't worry about getting spoiled. Before we get into the tier list, let me go over what my merits are for this list. For those who don't know, a fight can be finished in just one chain attack, even on hard mode. For that, I'll be rating the hero's chain order and their heroic chain on how useful they are in helping us achieve that goal, for when we get them, and how they perform in endgame content. Each round we're trying to hit 200 plus TP for the highest damage multiplier, but if any of you are in the early game, 150 will suffice. The reason you want to hit 200% is because we get 3 characters back, which helps us in the rounds to come. If you get 150%, then you get 2 characters back, and just for completing the order, you get 1 person back. Just a friendly reminder for anyone who needed it. With that out the way, let's get into this, yeah? The first hero we get is Ethel. Her chain order increases the damage multiplier by 150% and gives us a critical rate up buff for the next round. While this may sound good, buffs and chain attacks last 2 to 3 characters maximum, so you can't capitalize on everyone using the critical hit buff, so plan accordingly. Now her heroic chain is interesting, but before I go over that, let me quickly go over heroic chain and how they differ from the roles the 6 heroes have. Attackers get 125% bonus to TP if they act first in the round. Healers cannot exceed 99% TP, and tanks will bring back the highest TP value person if they complete the order. Heroes on the other hand ignore these rules, so be careful when you use them. Ethel acts as an attacker and gets an additional 25% bonus if she goes first. This is okay, but as you'll learn playing the game, we want our highest TP value person to go last to help us reach 150 or 200%. With all that said, she's a B tier for when we get her, and during the endgame she goes down to C tier and she gets outclassed. Next up is Valdi. His chain order heals all allies and gives us a regen. This does absolutely nothing in helping us build our TP or deal more damage. You can use chain attacks as a timeout during the fight to recuperate, but like I said at the start, we can just finish the fight here and now. His heroic chain gives 50 more TP if we're fighting a machine, which is actually good as this helps us reach 150 and 200% thresholds in specific fights. Valdi will be given a B tier for when we get him, and during the endgame he goes down to a C tier as we have a lot better options. Zeon makes his way to the team. His chain order increases tank aggro by 50% and gives all allies armor veil. Once again, this does nothing in helping us finish a fight quicker. His heroic chain does however give him an additional 15 TP each reactivation, and if you use him with his order, you can get him really high. I recall hitting 160 plus TP with just him alone. For when we get him, he's B tier, but during endgame he falls to C tier because we need the damage and he just doesn't bring it. Teach is up next for his lesson, and hopefully he studied up on chain attacks. This is an okay recovery order, but we're looking for damage. Let's see his heroic order. Okay, now this is good. It gives everyone but himself 10 TP, which helps us reach bravos and amazings. For when we get him, he's a B tier, but in endgame he falls to C tier because 10 TP is nothing there. Hopefully Riku and Manana cook something good for us. Their chain order gives everyone 10 TP including themselves, which is okay as we'll be hitting bravos and amazings easier. Their heroic chain is actually good. This gives the first blood bonus from the attacker roll to anyone used next. For when we get them, they are A tier, but during endgame they also crumble to a C tier. Hopefully Manana still serves me up a plate, yeah? He doesn't need to say much as his guns do the talking. Gray's chain order increases our damage to low HP enemies by 100%. Now this is what we're looking for. What about the heroic chain? Multiplies the damage ratio by 1.5 if he participated in that round. Now this is what I'm talking about. Gray brings the firepower we need, giving him an A rank for when we get him, and during endgame he remains an A rank as he's one of the best heroes for chain attacks. Let's see how Isurd can compare to that gun show. His chain order reduces ether and physical defense by 30%. This is actually good as it's Tyon's and Uni's order, but in one. Who doesn't love a good bargain? His heroic chain guarantees a bravo, so even if you finish with 149 or 100 points, you will be given a bravo. This is really strong as we could use this to build our character's TP while always getting 2 people back. For when we get him, he's easily an S tier, as he's the first hero to help us consistently hit bravos. Sadly, during the endgame, he falls to B tier because Amazings is what we're looking for. Looks like we have a showdown as Juniper and Gray have the same chain order bonus. Let's see what her heroic chain does then. Whenever we use her, our damage bonus goes up 50 percentage points right away. Now that's spicy. If we can somehow reactivate her, then we could get an additional 250% for free in the 5 rounds. Sadly, Gray wins this duel as they share the same orders, but Gray's chain is better as a flat 50% is nice, but multiplying the whole damage multiplier by 50% gives us a bigger bonus in the long run. For when we get her, she's B tier, and in the endgame, she also remains in the B tier. Sorry, Junebug. Next up is our suicidal chick, Ashera. Her order increases the damage percent by 200 points and gives everyone Power Charge. Power Charge is a buff that increases your damage by 200% the next time you attack. Unlike other buffs, this doesn't expire until you act, so this is already amazing, but on top of that we get 200% damage multiplier increase? Her heroic chain has to be bad, right? Well, someone in the development team really wanted Ashera to be good, as she's guaranteed an amazing. With this, you can use 3 characters round 1 and then use Ashera afterwards to make them get buffed for the next 3 rounds. Unlike Isurd, she's a 1 use, so make the best use of this free amazing. For when we get her, she's easily an S tier. Come on, did you really not think she would be? And during the endgame, she remains S tier as she's just that good. How's my poor waifu Alexandria gonna compare to that? Well, her chain order gives everyone a critical rate bonus of 30%, which is really good as this isn't a buff that'll wear off after 3 characters take their turn. I'm looking at you, Ethel. Her heroic chain gives us the first blood multiplier and makes all our attacks critical hits. For that, you'll always want to use Luminous Illusion as this has the highest hit count for the most damage. For when we get her, she's a B tier, and in the endgame she goes up to an A tier as she makes critical builds come to life. Next up is Mommy Monica. Okay, don't cringe, alright? I just thought it was funny. Her chain order brings back 1 additional person, and she has a 30% chance to bring back 1 more. How kind of her. Her heroic chain guarantees we get the highest TP person back with even more TP. This is brilliant as it helps us set up for some easy amazings. For when we get Monica, she's an A tier, but in the endgame she'll fall to B tier because Ashera is better. Next up is our crybaby Fifi. Oh wait, her chain order is actually good? She gives everyone Power Charge and refills the chain gauge? Okay. Before you get excited, she refills enough so you can do 1 extra round. This lets us do 6 rounds, which is massive! Her heroic chain also gives everyone 20% more TP every time you use her. Okay, I take back what I said about her being the crybaby because whoever is being chained attacked, they're sure in for a wailing. For when we get Fiona, she's easily an S tier, as she does exactly what we want, and during the endgame she remains there because with a proper setup, you can hit crazy damage multipliers. Triton brings us a nice gift with a 6 to 18 TP gain for everyone with his chain order. That's okay, but what about his heroic chain?
Why is the rum always gone?
Well, I guess in this case, why's the TP always gone? I guess this would explain it. Now, while this may seem good to get 50 TP, it's actually better to remove 50 TP as he'll be at 0. This lets us use another character in chain attacks, especially when the TP gets high and we can only squeeze 1 or 2 characters in. For when we get Triton, he's sadly a B tier, and in the endgame it's the planks for him as we have more consistent ways to get TP and deal damage. Next up is the city's biggest potty mouth, Ghondor. Her chain order increases everyone's critical hit damage multiplier by 150%. This is insane on blades with high critical hit rate. Her heroic chain is crazy as it guarantees she's reactivated. I guess the little dag has the skills to back up her mouth, huh? For when we get her, she's an A tier and she'll remain there in the endgame as she brings critical hit blades to life. The local sweetheart Miyabi is up next. She shares the same effects as Mommy Monica. Coincidence? I think not. Her heroic chain is very unique as she gives all her TP to Mio. This can be very useful when you have the accessory to increase starting TP to make Mio nice and thick. With that being said, she's a B tier when we get her, and she remains there because she makes the waifu Mio come to life. Our spiritual dragoon is up next. Cammuravi increases the damage ratio by 200% and gives us an attack buff. Unfortunately, this is not infinite like Ashera, so we'll only be getting 3 characters to get the maximum usage. His heroic chain further dishonors him as it increases his TP by 200% if he goes first. This is only good if he's already going to be hitting 200%, but it robs your other characters of turns to build up their TP. This would have been amazing if it was going last. I'm sorry Cammuravi, but dishonor to your chain order and your heroic chain. For when we get him, he's a B tier, and during endgame he's a C tier because the devs did him dirty. He can now be one with the dirt. Beep boop, Segiri checking in for daily maintenance. She shares the same chain order effect as Isurd, but her heroic chain is what Cammuravi wish he had. She gains a 150% multiplier if she completes the chain.
Is this easy mode?
It may as well be with how insanely strong this heroic chain is. For when we get Segiri, she's easily an S tier, and she stays there because having a strong finisher is amazing.
Nerf this!
Please don't. Okay, I promised I would tell you when we reach this part of the video. This is your spoiler warning and my chance to shill. If you haven't completed the game, then this is your chance to add this video to your watch laters and come back for the post-game heroes. Don't forget, if this video brought value to you, please leave a like and consider subscribing to see more, as I plan on making more guides and I play a wide array of RPG games. If you enjoy my concise, no fluff style, then consider subscribing to see more in the future. Now for those who are still around, let's go over those post-game heroes, yeah? Nyanka is first with her Salvation Ripple as her chain order. You already know what I'm gonna say, right? Reviving our allies is the last thing I want to use my chain attack on, so let's go to the heroic chain. Okay, now this is something befitting a queen. Reactivating everyone is very strong. You could essentially use the first 2 rounds to get as much TP for yourself, then use her to bring back everyone for an easy 2 more rounds to finish with the Oro Berries. For when we get Nia, she's a B tier because the chain order is trash, but the heroic chain is good. Let's see how Melly holds up. She reduces ether defense just like Uni, but more. Her heroic chain is worded a bit weird, so let me show you instead. When you would surpass 100, you would normally end here, right? Well, she lets you pass that and lets another person go. Now that's chivalry, if I say so myself. As of making this video, I have defeated all post-game enemies using her in my unique build, and I completely destroyed them on hard mode. If you guys would like a video of that, let me know down in the comments below. For when we get Melia, she's S tier, and if used properly, she allows for some very high TP rounds. I recall hitting 400 plus TP values, and this can potentially be higher if I do New Game Plus. And with that, I present to you my Xenoblade 3 tier list. Don't forget, if this video brought value to you, please leave a like and consider subscribing to see more as I play a wide array of RPG games and I break them down just like this. Until the next video, I'll see ya.